Welcome back to the infamous project. You can see today behind me, we're going to be working on this 86 GT and hopefully get it running for the first time in at least over a decade. So if you saw the video before, you would have seen that the date stamp on the battery was July 06, I believe. And this car sat in the original owner's garage. My understanding was he had moved, car got parked, and that was sort of it. Life changes, change of events, and the poor car hasn't seen the road since he had moved and just sat there for a number of years. The good news is it was inside, and you can see it's in really good shape. So we're gonna have to go through a number of things today. Simple things: change the oil, number one, because the oil is going to be most likely broken down and of no use, so we want to make sure that that's good. If we have a way to prime the pump, hopefully we do. Got my friend Lewis here with me today.
And our four-legged helper.
And the four-legged helper. So Lewis is actually the guy that I bought the Stalker Vert off of. That's a whole other story. Actually, it's on a video. So if you want to find out how I met Lewis and the whole story behind the Stalker Vert, make sure to check out that video. But we'll be going through a number of things. The fuel's obviously going to be stale, having sat so long. So whether we disconnect the front lines off the rails, we'll see if the pump will actually prime. If it does, then that's good. Chances are the pump might actually just be dead. So whether we get into dropping the tank, going down that route, changing the pump, might need to be done. Who knows? Might not. You never know with these cars. And again, having sat in a garage is probably the benefit, because at least it wasn't going through different cycles of climate and more chances of corrosion and everything else. So who knows how much fuel is in there. Chances are if it was left full, the pump might be okay. If it was left empty with condensation, it might be bad. So let's get playing with this thing. All right, hood is open, got the car pushed back a little bit, and if you guys didn't watch my previous video, I didn't go into too many details, but this is a new acquisition for me, and it was actually a really interesting story on how this car came about to my possession. So a friend of mine works remotely, just got a new job working remote, lucky him, and he was on a conference call with some of the other team members, and they're all working remote from different locations. So they're on a call and they were talking about digital marketing and social media, online presence, YouTube and everything else. And my friend actually brought up my YouTube channel, talking about my focus specific to the foxbody market. And after the call, one of his colleagues reached out to him via email and said, "Hey, I have a foxbody. In 1986, I'm the original owner, bought it brand new, and do you think your friend might be interested in the car?" So me and the owner, we went back and forth for a little while talking about the overall condition of the car. Obviously, you know, it was a sight unseen, but he's got all of the manuals, sets of keys, documentation. Says he has the window sticker somewhere, and I'm hoping he finds it. He said as soon as he can go through some stuff, and he can locate it, he'll send it my way. But everything else came with this car. So it is an extremely well-documented car, super excited for it. And hopefully we can get this thing running. And that's what he wanted to see. He wanted to see the car back to its former glory on the road, and hoping that we can make some good headway today by getting this thing running, see if it can move underneath its own power. That would be even more awesome. But this thing is just so clean. Aside from some door dings that are along that driver's side door, it's really not a big deal. Some PDR will take care of that, but this thing is super clean. Once we can get it outside, I'll show you more about it. Oh wow, oil actually looks pretty clean. Some cobwebs on the control arms from sitting. A little bit of surface rust, you know, sway bar and coil springs, but if you're looking down that way at the floor pans, everything seems to be very, very nice under here. A little peek at the underside.
The radiator's dry.
What's that?
I think the radiator's dry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you see a little bit of corrosion starting around that plug. Floorboards are good. We got some exhaust issues right here. It's like mechanic's wire sort of holding that pipe up. That's probably from condensation sitting in the pipe and just rotting itself off. Still has the sticker on the H pipe, which is amazing. Gas tank area, nice and clean. So if you have to drop that tank, it won't be that big of a deal. Little wet on the bottom side of the diff cover, to be expected from sitting and seals drying up. And a little bit of corrosion in the same spot. And that's super, super clean. Look at that. Strong man. How's it looking there? Oh, there's baffles. Baffle clean?
Doesn't sound nasty.
Actually spins. Jesus. Yeah, everything spins.
Yeah.
Good?
Yep.
All right, so we got fresh oil. Took the belt off, made sure that all of the pulleys can spin freely. Pollution pump pulleys, as some of you would know, they do tend to seize up over time, or idlers and everything else. So that's taken care of. Power steering fluid.
Light. Coming right.
So we'll check that. There is coolant in it. Rads down a little bit, but nothing crazy. Power steering fluid's good. Nice. Let's give this a smell. To be honest with you, it actually doesn't smell too bad. Like, compared to the fuel that was in my pumps from the SRT10.
Yeah, it actually smells good.
I know. Well, what we can do is we can disconnect the main line, prime some. We'll do a little sniff test. If it primes, then at least we know we're not throwing bad fuel into the injectors and everything else. Look at that, the under hood light even works. Okay, it's spinning. Oh yeah, whew. Where's my water bottle? All right.
Actually, it doesn't smell too bad.
No, it doesn't.
Wrong. All right.
Looks like pee, but it's not as bad as it could be. All right, so we disconnected the main line from the underside of the car and turned the key forward. So we've determined two things. Number one, the tank is absolutely full. Number two, the fuel pump works, and here's our sample. And honestly, it's really not that bad. It's clean, it smells old, but for the purposes of getting things going, it'd take us a really long time to run this tank out. So we'll probably get it running and burn most of this stuff out of it, fill it up with some fresh fuel, and go from there. The important thing is that the pump is working and the fuel is actually in reasonable shape, especially considering the age, but that's a benefit. If you're storing your car, you should keep your tanks full There's a big debate about whether they should be empty, whether they should be half, whether they should be full. Stabilizer will help as well for obvious reasons, but we're going to go ahead now, check a few things over, and maybe see if this thing will fire up. All right, guys, so what we're going to do now, we're going to pull the distributor out and actually put 1/4-inch socket on an impact, so that way we can prime the oil pump and just get the oil spinning before we try and fire this motor up. A little corroded, so we'll clean that up. So this guy is pointing right here. Remember that, Lewis? Okay. It's pretty much just past 3 o'clock. A little bit past.
That's easier to remember.
All right, so Lewis is going to get some tape to tape the socket around the extension. We just don't want to drop anything down in the motor and cause any issues. So what we're going to do is, you can see the bottom side of the distributor here. That's actually a hex head that's 1/4 inch in size. So we got a 1/4 inch socket that we're going to put down that will mimic the distributor, because it's actually this guy that's turning your oil pump and getting your oil flowing. So we're going to run the 3/8 impact socket here, going to go counterclockwise. That's the rotation that the pump actually, or the shaft for the pump turns. So we'll get that primed all the way up, and you'll feel the tension. You'll hear it when we run the impact here. Then once we do that, we'll run it a little bit and make sure that the oil is going through the motor everywhere. We will probably spin the crank pulley a little bit by hand as well. You can do the same thing, bumping the motor with the starter, and just make sure that everything is free and everything is rotating the way that it should, and lubricated, of course. And then we're going to be able to flick the key, and we'll see what happens. Oh, you can actually see the shaft down in the hole.
There you go. Counterclockwise.
So
run your drill in reverse.
Okay. Now you know it's building pressure. Huh?
You don't want to hammer.
Fingers crossed for the injectors. A couple flakes here. Sure it'll be fine, but yeah, that's like plaque.
I haven't been to the dentist for a while.
So we change the oil, assess the fuel, prime the oil pump. Now we're going to see if it'll fire. Oh.
Nasty exhaust leak.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Charging, pressure, it's good.
Nice.
Sounds like ass.
So we don't have the best fuel in it. Gonna let this thing, we'll put it back down on the ground, get it up to the temperature, and then get it outside. We'll need some better fuel in it, and might take it for a little road test, make sure that the brakes work and everything else. But there we have it. This thing has been running over a decade. Took a few little basic steps. Here we are running. brake work? You can do it. So here we are, the car is moving underneath its own power. First run. Everything seems to be working. Testing out the brakes, they were a little soft initially. No brakes?
Very, very lean brakes.
You're stopping?
They're real spongy.
Ah. Car's been running for probably a good 20 minutes. We did try out the AC, the compressor wasn't kicking on, so we jumped the switch in the back. Compressor kicked on, but no cooling. Other than that, it's getting up to operating temperature with no issues. There is a braking issue, probably gonna have to go through and bleed the braking system. We already know about the exhaust leak, so right now it actually doesn't sound too bad because it sounds like it's got a nice little rumble to it. And Lewis over here in the background is fixing the map bag on the driver's side, which on the 4Eyes, it's only on that side. I didn't ever even pick up on that. So it's just that one. And if you're wondering where I learned this trick from, this is the man who actually taught it to me way back in the day. So got to give him some credit. Giving you credit. He always gives me a hard time. Every time he sees me doing it, he's like, remember where you learned that? So, car looks really good. It's too hot to be washing a black car in the sun. So we're not gonna wash it yet. Just wanted to get it up to temperature, burn out some of that older fuel. We put the antenna back on. The radio actually works great in here. That buzzing sound is annoying. Huh? We do need a cassette. So you can see here. So you can see how nice the interior is. Radio works, all the LED test lights and everything work here. It's nice to see this area not all butchered up. Dash pad doesn't even have a crack in it. We found this Jiffy Lube oil service card. So back in 2001, in 09, what's that, September of 2001, at 56,000 miles, was supposed to be the next oil change. The car is only at 53,700, so if we think 3,000 miles from the oil change, that'd probably explain why the oil was actually so clean in this car. So that was a cool find. And then underneath the passenger seat, we even found the tag for the seat. It says Mustang Pass charcoal cloth. So it's always neat to find this stuff. Again, there's a bunch of documentation that came with this car, so super excited to see what that looks like when it shows up. Very nice work on the map pocket. And the car fires up like a normal Mustang now. So there we go, all the gauges work, car fires up nice. So we don't have AC, the fog lights don't work, brake pedal is mushy, but we have an exhaust leak. So other than those few things and a good detail, this thing should be good to go. Anyways, time for lunch.